Hey guys, what's up? This is Dan here with GrapevineRecording, and I just wanted to, I guess, start all this off with a question. As you can see, I'm using a different setup today. I'm on the PC, but I've basically I've been watching a lot of the Sky Oblivion streams. If you just don't know what that is, just YouTube it. It's phenomenal, and watching that gave me a little bit of an idea, which is, what if I potentially streamed and or recorded like long form unscripted stuff of me doing game audio things. Now, bear in mind is that although I do, in some cases, like I do work in the game industry, I'm not like a sound designer or an audio programmer or anything like that in terms of using the middleware like Fmod-wise or implementing things into the engine. So and nor do I claim to be that type of person. I don't know that much about that side of things, yet I want to learn. So I was thinking, why not create a kind of, perhaps we could stream on Twitch or on YouTube, or I can just create a video which is just like an hour long of me trying things out. I don't know whether that would be something that you guys would be interested in. I know people have expressed some interest in me doing game audio things, so let me know. But basically, for the remainder of this video, what I'm going to do is just go through a level that I've created. Well, a level that has already been created that I've put audio into in Unity using Fmod. I'm not in any way affiliated one way or the other yet, because I don't know that much about them. So I've got Wise, I've got Fmod, I've got Unreal, and I've got Unity all installed, and I'm fully willing and hoping to learn as much as I can about all of it. As I say, I've done a little bit in a few things, and I've got some preferences, and I've got some things that I like, and I know like a very, very, very small amount, but I want to learn more, and I think this might be a good way that we can show this. I haven't seen a lot of videos like this. Again, this isn't going to be a tutorial. It's not going to be me showing you what to do, because I'm in no way qualified to do that. I just thought it'd be a good thing for me because I want to learn it. I can create videos. It might give me that impetus to keep making more. Then if you guys who are any more experienced in this than I am, you can go and say, Dan, you're doing it all wrong. You know, and that's great, because as you'll soon see in this level, there's some things that I'm not quite certain about. So let's jump in. So this is let me do that. Do you need to see my face? I don't think you need to see my face, do you? Nah. Get rid of me. Right. So I'm using Unity. This is the Viking Village template, or what is it? Viking Village map. People use it as like a tutorial level, and then I've created an Fmod program. You can just download Fmod off the Fmod website, and then you can import all this. Right. So if I just go into that, I don't know why it's doing this. It's been doing this all day. I'm not entirely sure why. But anyway, doesn't really matter. So this is the level. I've implemented a couple of things already in here that I'm going to go through in a minute. And then I've got my Fmod sessions all up in here. Like so. And again, I'll get into that a little bit. I'm hoping that let me just bring myself back. I'm hoping that like some of you guys are actually maybe somewhat interested in this, because I think it'd be cool because I've got a couple of questions, if you guys could answer that. Potentially I may have some answers to questions that you have got. I just think it might be an interesting little back and forth, and because I've been busy lately doing other things with Star Citizen and stuff, I haven't been able to create a lot of content, so maybe this will work like that. You never know. So it might take me a while getting all the volumes and stuff right as well. So you know, sorry about that. So let's have a look. So this is the level. I'm not going to go into too much detail at this junction about like the actual sound design. Once I figure out the implementation and putting stuff into the world and making it trigger in the way that I want it to, I'll then dive a little bit more into how we create sounds and do some things like that. So hopefully this will be good, and hopefully you can let me know. So I'm gonna just play the level and have a little walk around, so you can have a listen. Let me just see that if the volume's adequate. I'll give it a little bit more, just for this. So that's pretty much the level that I've built, or implemented. There's a couple of sounds that I'd like to focus at more, and I'll go into in Fmod how that's worked. But mainly the way I've set this up is that if we looked at the camera, which is under, as you will soon know, I don't really know my way around a lot of this, so it's going to take me a little while, but please bear with me. Right, so this is the character in this. Oh yeah, it's not going to let me zoom in, is it? Because it's just going to do that. If anyone knows why that's happening, that would be great if you could show me how to fix it. So frustrating, isn't it? Right, so because the camera is primarily the main character in this, the way I've done it is I've actually attached a couple of like Atmos sounds and the music sounds to the camera, just because I don't want them to actually be coming from a specific space. I want it to just be happening all around. So as well as adding the studio listener, which is kind of what you need in the world for this to all work, I've also attached 2 studio event emitters to it. The play event is always on the object start, so when the world is built. And then in one, we've got a music event, and the other, we've got a bass Atmos event. So if we open up Fmod, basically what these sounds are, for the bass Atmos is pretty much just 2 wind sounds. We've got just a bass wind. Again, I apologize if it's a bit quiet. So we've got a bass wind, and then we've got this like added wind that comes in, depending on where you stand in the world. And that is just set up on a loop. The music is basically just a looped song. Just to add something a little bit more into the level. So, where I mentioned about the winds based on where you're standing, I've created just a tree. It's called a tree trigger over here, but it's not. It doesn't trigger anything to do with trees. Basically, the way this works is just this box trigger zone that I've set up over here. It's basically just outside of the village. In all fairness, we could probably do with this being like that. In fact, maybe there. Oh no, it's gone. and maybe a little bit over there. So this is just kind of like the outside of the main village sector. And what this does is this box trigger over here, there's a studio parameter trigger on the rigid body when it enters. And basically what this does is just sets this external wind parameter to 1. So if we go back to the main character, this initial parameter value for external wind is set to 0, and all that parameter value is just under the parameter tab in the event. It's just basically this knob here. So when the game starts, it's actually set down to 0. But when you move into that trigger zone, that is then set to 1. And as you can see here, what that does is it just hires up, even though that's meant to slightly lower it down. It very slightly lowers down the base wind and then brings up this wind track as well. You can see is if I push play and just if you keep an eye out on just these 2 level knobs here. So just standing in and out of that zone will just adjust that parameter there. And that's basically all that does. I want to do more like interesting things, but I don't know how to do any more interesting things just yet. So all that basically does is when you move in, it'll change that value to 1. When you leave, it'll change that value to 0. I believe it changes it back to 0 when you go in. When you leave it, sorry. Pretty sure it does. Maybe not. Let me try it. I think it does. But it's a good way because you'll be able to give it a listen. So if we just run all the way down here. So you can hear that other winds come in. There is not. So, do I have to create another trigger on when you leave, maybe? So if I go Fmod Studio parameter trigger, I want the target to be that. Trigger exit, collision tag player, just for the safety's sakes. Set base atmos to 0. Should be right, shouldn't it? Let's just give it a quick save, dive in. So now when we enter, it should set it to 1. Then when we leave, it should set it back to 0. So there's that. And then when you leave, it goes back to 0. Tremendous. Look at that. We've learned something. Congratulations to us all. So that's kind of what that trigger's doing, and then that's just basically how them sounds are just attached to the guy, to the camera, just because you want it to follow you around the map. So I want to create more intricate triggers that'll affect more interesting properties, but we haven't quite got that far yet. Also, attached to the camera is the footstep script. Now, I'm not going to lie, this is way above my head. There's a let me just bring myself back. There's a tutorial series on this. Definitely go and check it out. Let me make some light. Definitely go and Definitely go and check it out. The tutorial series is phenomenal. Taught me a hell of a lot. Basically, all this stuff that I've implemented here, kind of learned through that. And then what he's done is he's created this script that runs, I think it's in C#, which basically, whenever you're moving, it sends a ray cast line below you, figures out what material you're standing on, and then adjusts basically other parameters in Fmod to play the sound of whatever surface you're standing on. So let me just quickly show you that. If I go into Fmod over here, sorry, am I in the way of anyone important? No. So if we open up the footsteps event, as you can see up at the top here, we've got like these 4 parameters of wood, dirt, sand, and water. And basically what these are doing is actually not that mad. It's just when it's at 0, it's silent. When it's at 1, it's at 0 dB. It's basically all that it's doing. So when I was saying that raycast, I think it's called, or a line trace or something like that, whenever it goes down, because of the other metadata and stuff in the engine, it'll go, well, there's dirt below you, and then in the code it just basically turns that dirt value to 1. So because all these are going to be living inside a loop, let's just, for argument's sake, do this. That loop's going to have to be way shorter than that. Again, sorry for how quiet it is. It'll do this. So as you can see, it's playing all of them, but 3 of them are muted. So if it's 0, you don't hear anything. But then when you walk on wood, it lowers the dirt value back down to 0, but increases the wood volume to 1. Okay, so let me just get rid of that loop. So like, for those who can read any of this stuff and it's not just complete gobbledygook, have a look at it. He provides it, which is phenomenal, and it really does help. But again, it's just far too... I'm just not there yet. I'm just not there yet to figuring all that out, sadly. So they're the next steps, I guess. Hey, next steps. So let me go away. So I can get rid of the light then, which is bright in my eyes. So let's have a look at a couple of other things. I've designated a few buildings in this place as specific, meant to do certain specific buildings. So we have, from where we spawn, we've got a barracks behind us here. We have a tavern here. And we have a blacksmith just in this corner. So what I've done is I've basically attached a certain amount of... I've just basically attached an event. I've attached an event to the mesh, like so. So I just basically clicked on the building, added a studio event emitter called Barracks, I believe. Again, on the object start, and then this sphere around it is basically the drop-off zone, and that can all be configured inside of Fmod. So if we go to Barracks Fight, it's called, sorry, and then we push play. This is just a scatterer sound event playing multiple sword hits. I've got it just set up in a way so only 5 can be played at a time. It can play as many as it wants total, but the interval is in between 100 milliseconds and 750 milliseconds, pretty much. I don't know a whole lot about the min-max scatter distance. I think that's something to do with how it actually... maybe when you're closer to it or whether you're further away, it scatters more. I'm not entirely certain about that just yet. So in that, I've got a bit of pitch randomization, a bit of volume randomization, and then that's just getting played on top of just like a battle loop. Just to build something a little bit different. So as I say, under the master thing here, the min-max distance is between 3 and 25. If I was to increase this scatter distance up to about 80, for example, rebuild the bank, go back into this, as you can see, it kind of auto-updates, and now it'll start coming in when you're in this area. So, because there's two spheres, the further away area is like, if you're outside it, you can't hear it. And then the closer you move towards this center sphere, the louder and louder it gets. Also in Fmod, you can actually like increase the min distance, which increases like the overall sound size, and I think that just basically makes the external sphere bigger. And I think what this means is that like if you're inside here, that's at like maximum volume. So even if you're, you know, it doesn't matter how close you are to the center of the sphere. I'm pretty certain it's just, you know, it doesn't get any louder the closer you get to the middle when you're within this sphere. So let's figure out where we had that. Probably about there. Rebuild it again, go back into Unity, and it's just refixed it. It's probably a little bit loud. It's probably like a little bit too much, but I like the fact that because you start within this sphere, you can hear it just behind you a little bit. I think that works quite nicely. Plus, it's a barracks, isn't it? There should be fights going on. Also in the tavern, something similar takes place, even though I can't seem to click on the thing that I want to click on. Here, so the big house. Studio vent emitter, once again, I think that is pretty much like the majority of how this is going to work. We go into a bar, we've got a crowd of an industrial dispute, that's all I had, and a scatterer sound, which is just playing a marching band. So, pretty straightforward. I want to make that a little bit better. I'll make this scene, the bar, just a little bit. I've got some better music and stuff. Blacksmith, same thing, just every now and again it plays an anvil. But what I like over the blacksmith, if we have a look at it, the reason why I like the barracks over the blacksmith is that the blacksmith, this is just a solid loop, right? So that'll just, if you're standing within an area where you can hear it, it'll just repeat this loop. It's a 24-second loop. It'll just repeat that over and over and over again. It'll be exactly the same every time, which is fine, you know, because there's enough going on that it's kind of, there's no like real rhythm or anything like that. But in the barracks fight, because of this scatterer sound, it actually it could trigger different ways. You know, it could trigger differently every single time. So it adds a lot more variety and stuff, which is, I guess, kind of why we want all this to work. You know, that's why game audio is so good in a way, is we can make it so it triggers in different ways each time, and it all sounds nice. So equally, because I still annoyingly can't see anything without it all disappearing, there are some flames, like torches, like that. That's just a fire loop with the start offset randomized a little bit, just because there's places where you're actually walking past multiple of them at once. I think over by the barrack. Oh, here, I think there's two right next to each other. So I didn't want it to both be triggering at the same start point right next to each other in case there's any phase issues. So I've just offset the start point a little bit. So if we go into the fire, look at this. See the start offset's at 50%. So that means it'll actually start. I've got a random function on it. So if you imagine that random function weren't there, every time it'd start 50% through the waveform. But because I've got a start offset of, basically you could do it at 100%, and that just means it can start anywhere. But I've just got that down to about 50%. So it can start here or 25% either side of it. So it just, you know, there hasn't been any phase issues just yet. So that's good. Also, what we have is this sound here, which is not that, which is the water wheel. That works like this. It's a bit of a quiet sound there. Just a Wood Creek sound with a couple of like chain moves. The chain moves are crap, so don't blame me for that. Again, this is just implementation. I'm not worried about the sound just yet, even though the Wood Creeks are amazing. And that's just there's that Sky Oblivion I was on about. There we go. That's just to give a little bit something else when you hear. When I was talking before about attaching sounds to the main character for Atmos sounds, I've kind of broke that rule with the water. With the water, I've actually got an event emitter with an ocean sound effect, and as you can see inside Fmod, the ocean min-max distance is like 200, 1 to 200, and the reason why that is because I actually wanted it to get closer as you got closer to the water, and I wanted it to sound like the water sound was emanating from the sea instead of just around you. So where the Atmos in this place, I'm going to have to show myself again to make this work. And my light is none. Oh no. So basically, because of the way the Atmos sound works, is that all like generic Atmos is just coming from your head, regardless of direction. There's no point in space where the sound comes from. It actually comes from yourself. But with this ocean, I actually wanted it to sound like it's coming from the ocean, so I've attached it to the ocean mesh. I think it might not be the mesh. I keep saying meshes and stuff. That might not be correct. So sorry. So yeah, I wanted it to actually sound like it's coming from here, which is pretty correct. I think it works well. We'll play. And then after this, I just want to talk a little bit about footsteps, and then I'll leave you alone. See, so as we get there, it sounds like it's coming from in front, and if we turn... If you're wearing headphones, it sounds like it's coming from that side. So I just want to talk a little bit about footsteps. There's an issue that I have with this script, and I might be fighting a little bit above my weight here because, let's be honest, you know, let us be honest. Let me just do this. Right, so I might be punching a bit above my weight, and I do apologise for this. But the issue that I've got is that now in this script, regardless of whether I'm jumping or whatever, it's basically every... You create in this in the script itself, you'd actually create a distance, and I think the distance in this sense is 2. So every 2 is when it sends the line trace down to see what we're standing on. So now we're on wood. It'll walk on wood, and then when we walk on grass, it plays that. And that's regardless of whether we're walking, jumping, or otherwise. I think they're the only options. So if I jump when I'm walking, it'll still play whatever's below me, even though I'm not technically touching the floor. Hello! I didn't know I could fly. Oh, this perfectly proves my point. So even though I'm not physically touching the floor, the line trace can go down and see what is below us and play it. Now, again, I don't want to get into the ins and outs of liking one thing over the other, because, again, I don't have a clue. But the one thing I do like with Unreal, and I'm sure you can do it with this, is that you can apply the... What will it be called? You can apply the effect or the trigger or the notify to the animation. So you can actually go into the animation, and when, say, this is the floor, for example, when that foot gets to there in the animation, you can get it to trigger a notify event there, which then goes forward and triggers the sound. Yes, you need a little bit more logic in there to create a line trace to go, that's what's below you. But it doesn't actually trigger the sound unless that footstep, you know, that part of the animation takes place. Thus, if you're jumping, it wouldn't do it because you're not playing that animation, if that makes sense. Again, I'm sure you can fix it in this. It's just because I'm not that clever with regards to this, but that's nice. I like that. I do like that indeed. And because in this, because it's done in scripts, not in like blueprints, I don't know how to program in sounds for a jump, because I don't know where that lives in the grand scheme of like the hierarchy. Like, I don't know where the jump system is. I'd presume it's got something to do with the camera and then this first person controller, I'd imagine. So when someone would jump, I don't know. I just don't know. So I'd have to, I presume, write something within this that when the spacebar key is pressed, trigger a event. Maybe. I'll look into that. We'll look into that a little bit further. But that's basically it. That's basically all I've done thus far. I've added a thing over here which plays just a generic sound, but that's not it. But it's hard to see, as you can see. So underneath there, underneath there is just an emitter playing this like insect sound, but that was only a work in progress. It isn't really doing that much just yet. But that's me village. That's me village. If you're in any way, shape, or form interested about me village, and you know, I want to progress. I want to progress more, and I do want to learn more about what Fmod can do. Learn how to implement them things that I've just mentioned there. And if you are in any way interested in that, just let me know. Let me know, and I'll do more of it. And you know, it won't be like this where I'm going, here's how I did this. It's going to be me doing it. It's going to be me actually creating sounds and finding stuff and figuring out how to implement it. So they're going to be a hell of a lot longer than the 20 odd minutes that this has been. It's going to be in the hours, and that's why I was like, would it be better if I did that streaming? Would it, you know, because it's a lot less, you know, you can come in, you can go, and then I can just upload the rest after that. It's entirely up to you. If any of you are interested in streaming, I can figure out how to do that on Twitch or on YouTube. Just let me know. But I'm super excited. I really am. It's something that I really want to progress with. I know a lot of you have expressed interest in wanting to learn more about game audio. So if there's any way that I can help you, let me know. Let me know. But thanks all for watching. Let me know your thoughts. And I will see you all, well, very, very soon. So, yeah, take it easy. Ta-da.